What's up, everyone? This is Lucy here with IGN. I am joined by Tina.
Hello.
We are here at Gamescom, and we have just seen 20 minutes of Marvel's Avengers. And not only did we see it, we got to play it. Now, this was the demo that was shown behind closed doors at E3 and at San Diego Comic-Con, where it was unfortunately leaked. But we actually got to play it. So how did it feel to play?
Well, it was very much a tutorial level, so clearly just a space for the developers to give us an opportunity to get a little bit of a sample size of how all of these characters play. So very linear, and all of the criticisms that people have online, I would say, are pretty accurate. It's linear, the enemies aren't exactly all over you, on top of you. Some of the abilities seem pretty basic, but it's so much deeper than that based on a presentation that we got where we learned a ton more about the game.
We did, and so, just to clarify the gameplay that we did play, it kind of felt a little like Uncharted. It was extremely fluid, and it kind of played itself, but you did get a chance to play as each one of the heroes, which was a lot of fun. Which was your favorite character to play as?
I think it's got to be Thor. I mean, they brought the combat designer from last year's God of War for this game, and you can definitely feel it in Thor because you throw his hammer, you retract it back, and it hits enemies along the way, and he can float around and strike people with lightning, so that felt like the most fun.
Yeah.
Followed maybe shortly by Iron Man, Hulk, tied, I don't know.
Iron Man is fun, but Thor was definitely my favorite as well. Now, moving away from the kind of linear intro, we didn't see any more of the game, but we do know a lot more about it. Specifically that it is going to be it's going to be a lot more. Now, they did not use the word open world, but they used the word expansive.
Yeah, so basically you have an overworld map where you can look at two different mission types. You have your hero missions, which are your narrative, story-based campaign, and you go through for each of the individual Avenger characters. And then you have your Warzone missions, which to me felt like very Destiny-like, because you go through, you can look at them on your map. There are difficulty settings per each, and your Warzone ones are specifically co-op or single-player for certain ones of them. But you can go through different regions and explore and go through quests that we assume is far less linear. They did mention that it would be expansive, and they did mention that there would be different mission types, so it wouldn't be this linear thing. You're jumping from one part of a breaking bridge to another in San Francisco necessarily.
Yeah, so the hero missions you play solo, and the Warzone missions you can play solo, but you can also play with up to 4 players.
Yeah,
but they
designed to be
they
cooperative.
call it 4-player co-op.
Yeah.
They don't call it 5-player co-op, which is interesting because, of course, there are 5 primary Avengers. But yes, they're not talking about co-op a super amount this time around. So let's jump into stuff that we do know.
Yeah.
Now, skill trees that you can swap between.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go into a little bit of depth around those.
So Thor in particular, since he's our favorite character, you can decide to play him in one skill tree that kind of divulges more of this kind of crowd control environment, so more of the floating, lightning striking kind of abilities, versus if you want to make him more of a tank character so that he has tougher health in general, and then also tougher melee strikes and abilities there too. So we saw really brief overview where they looked through the skill trees, and we saw the little preview gameplay of what that looks like, and you could tell there's so much more involved, and we got to see a lot of Iron Man specifically too.
But of course, each character still has their fundamental strengths and weaknesses, and the hero missions in particular take advantage of those. So each hero mission is sort of catered towards a particular Avenger.
Yeah, and you get a lot more of their backstory, because obviously there's this giant Marvel universe that they have to play around with. So each of those Avengers that you play this hero mission campaign contains storyline within, you get to learn a little bit more about them, and then also adapt and evolve, level your character up as you get to play around with the skill trees.
Yeah, so theoretically, you will actually get to play with everyone, as everyone, and by the end game, have a pretty decently leveled team.
Yeah. And, regarding the missions too, as you play more hero missions and Warzone missions, we're told that you actually unlock even more missions. And if you're worried playing Warzone cooperatively with players that may be far out leveled from you, there's actually dynamic scaling for that within the missions, but also within characters as well. So you don't have to worry about blasting through certain Warzone missions and getting too over leveled before you can go play the other ones, or playing with players that are also out leveled from you.
That's right, and beyond narrative, you're driven forward, of course, by loot and upgradable gear. Now, that is something that they are really pushing, and I assume will be a big draw card for people once the campaign is over. So let's talk a little bit about upgradable gear and what we saw.
Oh yeah, tons. So basically you get whatever variety of gear that there is, from probably what we assume is a common level to what they said is larger than legendary.
Beyond
so
legendary.
you get higher ranking, higher rarity level gear. And there are even gear sets. So you can get like Stark Industries gear set that the perks of which all work in tandem with one another, and you can upgrade your individual gear as well, which upgrades its stats, but also the perks that you have attributed to each of them. So there's a lot of customization, and even beyond the stuff that actually impacts gameplay is some of the cosmetic things. So a lot of what you earn in-game is those ability-tied gear, but then you can go on their marketplace and buy some fancy new suits for Hulk, because there's plenty.
So yeah, a lot of the costumes you will be able to earn in-game, but if you want to go all out and like pick up every single one, because they're really promising a huge range of costumes, you do want to check out the marketplace for any kind of cosmetic upgrade.
Which they specifically mentioned was only the only for pay items that you could get was cosmetic specific, because obviously that's an important thing to clarify these days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, before we finish up, I just want to touch on the story stuff that we saw. The sort of first 20 minutes that we saw was very much a prologue and kind of just shows the Avengers screwing up a mission, like being set up, and they were set up, and the world blames them for a massive amount of San Francisco destruction, and then they disbanded. Oh no, we've never seen that before. Yeah. But of course, when we left the demo, they were all in very sort of different places.
Yeah, it was really reminiscent to the recent movies within Endgame and Infinity War, because Thor's like, with particular variations. So Thor is, totally just disillusioned with the whole thing. He feels like a massive failure. He goes back to Midgard and tries to go back to his roots. Black Widow is, again, a lone wolf spy. Hulk is stuck in Hulk mode. He can't turn back into Banner because he's also depressed and feels like, are we even superheroes? And interestingly enough, they're in a time period where superheroes are outlawed, and so they're in their various corners of the world licking their wounds, and it's your job in this game to assemble the Avengers all over again to save them from the impending doom that is AIM, the company who is manufacturing a lot of weapons that to protect the world, allegedly.
Yeah, so AIM is very much a Marvel comic staple, but basically the whole idea is that they are the big bad in this particular game, and I'm sure we're going to see lots more villains as well. But there is one Avenger who is mysteriously absent at the end of that demo. Whether or not we will see him again, spoiler warning, we will see him again.
We probably will.
Captain America. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's got a big, interesting plot twist at the end of the prologue. So yeah, they're playing around with some big story beats, which is really exciting to see. That's all we've got from Marvel's Avengers at Gamescom this year. For everything else Gamescom, stick with IGN.
Next time, take better notes.